Hello everyone, welcome to the video on drug development and clinical trials. In this short video, I will explain how a drug is developed and how the clinical trials are conducted and how the drug gets into the market. This is my YouTube channel and recently my channel has crossed 1,75,000 views. Thank you viewers. If you like the video content, do subscribe and share. Let's get into the topic. So this is a basic drug development process. Whenever a pharmaceutical company or a research organization wants to synthesize a new drug, they will follow all these steps. Let us explore one by one. The first step is the basic development of in vitro and in vivo testing. So a basic research is carried out on a disease and they will identify a target where a drug should act and how the drug has to be given. Now the early discovery includes the research on the basic molecule, synthesis of the basic molecule. Once the basic molecule is synthesized, it is tested on animals, which is known as preclinical trials. Now the testing could be in vitro and in vivo. Understand this word. In vitro is a Latin word. Vitro means glass. So any experiment carried on test tube or in a petri dish, it is made up of glass. Hence it is known as in vitro testing. Whereas in vivo, vivo means living. Any drug is tested on animal or human being, it is called as in vivo testing. But at this stage, a basic research is carried out, early discovery of molecule is done, and it is tested on in vitro and in vivo, especially on animals, it is done. Now once it crosses this stage, once the drug shows approved use, then it is applied for IND, investigational new drug application is filed. A new drug application, investigational new drug application is filed. Once it is approved, then it gets into clinical development. You can see it has got phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 trials. Volunteers will range from tens, hundreds to thousands. This is what is human testing phases. Once the drug clears phase 3 trials, then it goes for NDA or BLA application. NDA means new drug application or BLA. This BLA stands for Biologics License Application. So NDA is for synthetic drugs, BLA is for biologics. So the application is filed and FDA reviews the data. Food and Drug Administration reviews the data. Once the data is reviewed, if everything found to be correct, FDA gives the approval. Once the drug gets that approval, it gets into market. At this stage, after phase 3, it gets into market. Once it gets into the market, even in the market, the drug is checked for its adverse effects. This is what is called as post-marketing surveillance. So this is, in a nutshell, this is how a drug development goes on. Initially, the basic research is conducted and the drug is tested on animals. Once it is proved, IND, investigational new drug application is filed and then it gets into clinical trials. After phase 3, it gets into the market. Even after market, phase 4, post-marketing surveillance is carried out. Now, so these are all the stages. The first stage is discovery and development. A drug is discovered and it is developed. In preclinical research, in vitro and in vivo, means in animal testing, it is done. Once it gets into clinical development, it is tested on human beings. After phase 3, it goes for FDA review. Once it gets the review, it gets into market. Even after getting into the market, post-marketing monitoring is done. Now, this is an important slide. Understand what is happening here. See, these are all the number of drug molecules, chemical entities which are tested. At least 10,000 to 25,000 drug molecules are tested in basic research phase. So in this phase, the drug molecule is synthesized, examined and screened for its activity. Now, once it crosses, see, it takes at least 1 to 3 years. And after that, it gets into preclinical trials. This is what is carried out in animals. In this phase, the drug molecule number goes down to 10 to 20. Only 10 or 20 molecules will show minimal use in animals. Now, after that, it gets into phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. You can see the number of molecules going down. In every phase, the number of molecules goes down. That means the molecule which do not show any efficacy or which has got toxicity is removed and the number goes down. Finally, when it gets into phase 3, you may get 1 or 2 and finally one drug is approved. And the total years, it will take at least 10 years for a drug to get into the market. So this is an important slide. Understand the things. Now, see, the US National Institute of Health identified 7 ethical principles that must be satisfied before a clinical trial can begin. So before starting a clinical trial, the preclinical data must ensure all the following. See, the 7 ethical principles are whether the drug candidate has got social and clinical value. And scientifically, the data should give a valid reasons. Now, fair selection of subject. In clinical trials, the subject selection should be fair. and then informed consent. All the subjects should tell they are in clinical trials, and they have to be informed with possible adverse effects and everything. Now, favorable risk to benefit ratio. See, every drug comes with a side effect or adverse effect. So that is what is risk is. Now, you need to assess the benefit is more than the risk. Then only the drug has to get into clinical trials. Independent review. It is not the research organization should review the research. Independent institutes also should review the research. That is what is independent review is. Respect for potential and enrolled subjects. See, the subject consent is very much important. During half the trial, if they want to go back and they don't want to administer any of the clinical drug, respect should be given. So these are all the 7 principles which has to be followed. Now, see again, the lab studies, the clinical trials, you have lab studies as well as animal studies. In phase 1, see, the safety is calibrated. Understand, in all the competitive tests, this is what is tested. Safety and tolerance is tested in phase 1. Whereas phase 2, this is carried to find out the efficacy or therapeutic exploration phase. This is also known as therapeutic exploration. What is the therapeutic clinical use is explored. And phase 3 is therapeutic confirmatory trial, which is done on more people to confirm its therapeutic efficacy. Now, so this is how it is done. Phase 1, see, evaluate safety, determine the safe doses, identify side effects. This is what is done in phase 1. Whereas phase 2, effectiveness and further evaluate the safety. Now, confirmation, that is what is therapeutic confirmatory trials are done in phase 3. And minor side effect compared to other treatments and collect all the data. Once it crosses phase 3, it gets into the market. In phase 4, you will provide additional data, and the risk, benefits and use are assessed in this phase 4. Now again, this is the important slide. Understand this one. Phase 1, first in human. Number of participants 10 to 100. Now usually healthy volunteers. Occasionally patients with advanced rare diseases, but usually it is carried on healthy volunteers. Now it is open label. That means the subject will know what kind of drug is given. Now, what is tested? Safety and tolerability. How much time it takes? At least 1 to 2 years. Money in US dollars, it costs around $10 million. Success rate is only 50%. Next phase. Now, it will be from 50 to 500 participants. Patient subjects receiving experimental drug. They will get an experimental drug, and it is randomized and controlled, can be placebo controlled. That means, see, the population, the volunteers are divided into 50%. 50% of the volunteers are given a placebo, 50% of the volunteers are given a drug. Efficacy and dose ranging is determined in this stage. It will take at least 2 to 3 years, may cost 20 million. Success rate is only 30%. Now, phase 3, this is multi-site trial. See, few hundred to few thousands will be participated in this trial. Patient subjects receiving experimental drug, randomized again, placebo are given. Now, it confirms efficacy in larger population. This may take 3 to 5 years and cost $50 to $100 million. Success rate is only 25 to 50%. Now, once it crosses this one, it is given for NDA application, and it gets into the market. Once it gets into the market, many thousand participants data will be monitored. Approved drug will be given. Open label, especially adverse events, compliance, drug-drug interactions are tested. Now, there is no specific period is there, no fixed duration. It goes on forever. So this is how clinical trials are conducted. And this slide is important one. Please take a screenshot of this slide. Now, in India, how it is done? All clinical trials must publicly documented in clinical trials registry. This is what is there in India. Now, in stage 2, various government agencies and RA regulates clinical trials. Now, the drugs control grants approval for clinical trials once it is done. And then the organizations are answerable to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. See, in case of India, we are not coming with investigational new drugs, or new drug applications are not being filed in India. Except corona vaccine, we don't have any new drugs. So we all, in India, it is only generic research which is being carried out. So this is about clinical trials. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, do subscribe and share.